Oh, there we go. Freaking all kinds of buttons here. All right. We got a few people in. All right. So again, my name is David, and I'm the facilitator for this group. So it's the question and answer session. So one of the first questions was, what is the place? What is the place of native language in education? So if anybody wants to take a shot at that with an answer.
I think for me, like the place of native language in education, I think it has a more impact here in the north, here in our area, like in our NAN communities. We have to, as a teacher, for me, we have to focus more on like what are our opportunities for the students, for our people, not to forget their native language, because it's very important for them, because that is their identity. It's also to know that some of the schools doesn't have a language, native language instructor, wherein it's very important. For me, I am not a native language speaker, but I'm trying to learn some of the words, and I'm trying. The reason why I attended this, because I'm trying to get an opportunity. I'm going to get locals to help me, for the students to not to forget their Ojibwe language, which for me it's very important. So they stand here in our education, for me, is very important in our non-communities. So we have to think of a strategy. This program, this language immersion training is very important, and we have to look as an educator. We have to try to find more ways. How are we going to teach the students? It's so sad to say, because I'm teaching grade 7 and 8 right now. I'm trying to ask the people what are the Ojibwe language for some of the important words, right? And I try to ask the student what is the Ojibwe language on something, like duck. What is the Ojibwe language of the word duck or bear, something like that. But some of them, they don't know. So it's really, I told them, it's really important. That's why I'm asking you if you can provide me your prayer, your native language prayer, because as Cassandra she said it yesterday. It's very important. It's really good to start the session or the lesson with a prayer. Thank you.
Bonjour.
Bonjour.
My thoughts on it are that I think as the last person was saying, it's very important. As Darlene was saying, that it's very important, and I think Anishinaabe people in general, I think we've been beat down so much that maybe we would tend to think that it's not that important to even look higher and say that Ojibwe could be the third official language in Canada and the world. So why not? Why not think that way? because it's because that we've been beaten down that we don't think that it's, oh yeah, okay, we'll teach our children and that's it. And but why not think about it in those terms? That it could become an official language if we really wanted it to be that way. So by thinking that way, I think we could probably raise the level of training and education that we provide for Anishinaabe students. And then from there, who knows, right? Maybe it could go further than that, and that's not a bad thing. So those are my thoughts. Miigwech.
But
Hawache, ay may ayanin ng sinakasan na Flores Sadlan ng Mr. Bushi sinakasya. Constance Lake Ninan Dochi.
You made it to school? I've been
I-
texting you and freaking out here. Yeah, okay, well, I just need to know you got there so I can now concentrate on my meeting.
well, you might want to shut off your mic there. We're hearing your conversation.
Yeah, I just wanted to talk about the past elders and plus my late dad. He said when he was younger, he didn't go play around like his brothers in sports or anything. And I asked him, how come he never went around playing? He said, oh, I stuck around with my mom. My mom always talked to me when she's working, when she's busy while washing dishes or doing laundry, working outside. He said I was always with my mom, listening to her stories. That's where I pick it up, he said. Pick up the stories from the past, what they did when they on their travels. And so that's what he did. He remembered those stories, what his mother passed it on to him. And now I have all his stories on tape. He talked in the Cree language in a cassette tape, and I have all of them here. So I listen to him every now and then, because he talk about the travel, the river, the Albany River. They're originally from Kanamiski Island, he said, and they traveled to Fort Albany, Quezon, down to that Albany River to Mamatawa. Then they went to Pagua. So he does, and then he talked about the colors of the animals, the birds on the tape, and his hunting days and all that. And plus, he said it's important to teach the language to the young people, to our children and to our present. So where I worked there at the school, a new school, Mamatawa Holistic Education Center, I had a classroom, but now I don't. I go traveling. I use a cart. I teach JK, SK, grade 1 and high school. I used to have a classroom. I used to put up all my my Cree language on the walls, on the bulletin board. Now I can't do that because I got evicted out of my classroom. They're using that for something else. So I have to fight for a class. But where I have a class now is not a classroom, it's like a storage area. So it'd be nice to, show the students, for them to come into a classroom and see the language all over. So that's where I'm at now. But I love teaching the language. I love teaching, as I teach songs to the little ones. And they love that, the songs, especially the songs. And the high school, teaching them both, like the Cree language and the culture. So that's what I'm doing with the high schools. So I'm doing all of that, and I love doing what I do. It's that the only thing that I don't like is no classroom. To me, Rich.
David, I forget the question.
Hmm. Hang on, I got Bannock, mouthful of Bannock. Well, the original first question was, what is the place of native language in education? But I think most of the answers are starting to tie into the next discussion about the role of native language in the context of family, school, community, leadership, government, and other. So a lot of the information that's been shared there already, it's tying into those topics.
I think we need to have a lot of our signs in and out of our communities in the language. I was in Montreal, say about a few years ago, and good thing I learned French because I grew up near Toronto. I had to take French. It was the only thing that I knew, but because I knew it, I was able to navigate through Montreal. But how come we don't have here in Treaty 3, North, like Kenora area, all of our language, everything should be in the Ojibwe language, because this is what is the popular and the most of anybody speaking the language. And so I feel like if we're surrounded by it in our communities and everything, that we will pick it up more and we'll learn more about it. I guess that's one thing that I would say, but I still feel like we're so far from trying to get there as well. So I just don't know what's stopping us from not getting all of our signs changed to our, you know, our dialect wherever we are in our Treaty 3s or any of them. So, yeah.
Yeah, that's a good point. So that what you just shared too kind of ties into the next question is, what is your vision of a learning environment for native language? So you know, signs are really important, you know, whether it's in a community or in a town. Like I know when I turned on CBC radio this morning, all of a sudden the announcer says, you know, good morning, and all of a sudden bonjour, and it's like, holy smokes, and that's different. So nice to hear our own language and you know, everyday radio.
Yeah, or like non-Indigenous people as well, respecting their language and utilizing it. And I find with me, I'm about 35. I'm a Treaty 3 teacher here teaching NSL, but I also too, like Flory, lost my position because I asked for elders to come in and teach me the language because I need somebody to bounce off with. But yet they instead, I said that they were there with me all the time, but I said, you know, they needed a little bit of break. They're elders. I don't want them to be in my classroom 5 times a day because I respect them. I want them to have, you know, they've earned the right to have a little bit of break from the classroom. But no, I lost my position, and those elders that were supposed to help me took my position. And so those 2 years that I tried so hard to get that good curriculum of the language, and then it just all went to nothing because they went back in, and now she's teaching the dialect that is not where the community's dialect is. So it just kind of hurts my feelings as a younger educator, and I'm trying my hardest to respect the dialects of where I teach, but yet they don't respect that I'm respecting that. So it's very hard to, I find, like trying to make it in a positive way with the language and having positive locations to go learn it. So with like learning with Cassandra Spade how to do language nests and having those immersion academies, like I feel like that's a really good start of something we can do through all our communities.
Bonjour, Mino.
Well,
I Oh, I just wanted to comment on Roxanne's thing about the having signs up. I want to share a little something. A friend of mine from Saskatchewan was traveling through the area, and he commented on how a lot of the signs to the communities are in Ojibwe, and that really inspired me. And but the thing is that we need to do more. So like he was commenting on the sign by um, I guess they call it Red Gut, but their sign says "Nigigonsiminikaaning," and then there's also when we went to Pick River, and that's the other thing that I wanted to share is that in Pick River, I really admire the fact that they have a lot of signs that have the symbols like the seven grandfathers, um, the teachings, the sabe, and so on, and all that kind of stuff. And yeah, and I agree that we need to do more with that, and I think that would really help. And I think it's just a will that the will to do it, whether it's through leadership or through individuals, just to go out there and just do it. Like why go through the like some kind of a process, of some sort, like the red tape or whatever you want to call that kind of thing. And I think there's nothing wrong with that. It's just a matter of going out and doing it. Take some plywood and put some posts up and put up a sign. Maybe even do some artwork. My brother used to do a lot of, put up signs with the artwork on it. Like say for the powwow, sometimes he would, go out to the junction because the highway runs through our community. And it's about a kilometer drive into to get to the powwow. So he used to get asked to do stuff like that, and he would put up signs with his beautiful artwork. And yeah, so that mi go wine the yan miigwech.
So just recap those three questions. They're kind of all interlinked. What is the place of native language in education? Discuss the role of native language in the context of family, school, community, leadership, government, other. What is your vision of a learning environment for native language at home, classroom, community, other?
Bonjour.
Bonjour.
Very language, indigenous cause, Nidominising, Donjaba. One thing that an elder who is a native language instructor in Wikwamkong advised me as I was entering the world of education is Anishinaabemuin classrooms should have more than one speaker, if possible. I know that's not not going to work out all the time because we're lacking in the human resources, but one, the teachers can converse to one another and students can be exposed to that input, that hearing that natural dialect, and also just for support, to support one another. And everyone has different ideas, and maybe they can help each other as they go on to pass this language in a classroom setting. Oh, nice. Zerlene, I don't know, I may have just butchered that name, but it says they have 3 locals in their classroom. That's really nice. Anyway, that's all I have to add.
I'm also just noticing, well, I've noticed it for many years, that we also need a curriculum development department in each community because we have such a vast of dialects across Canada. And I think that some communities do, or some territories do have a curriculum development department, but not all. And so I find that sometimes other communities are grabbing from other dialects and resources that aren't really pertain to what their community may speak. So it's good that we're sharing resources, but I think it would be more valuable to, if either we're sticking with, you know, having our dialects in our own communities and developing our resources in our own communities and having that availability, or some kind of like networking where we all have the same kind of resources, but also that are developed that are pertaining to our communities. Because I don't see it a lot, and it's hard when we always have to reinvent the wheel all the time as teachers, when, you know, it could be more available, but I know it's a process too.
Yeah, it's been some very insightful information that's being shared. You know, talking about you know, having your own classroom instead of carting stuff around. So that you know, when students see that, you know, they think, well, can't, you know, class can't be that important if you see that poor old language teacher. Well, I can buy with a bag of books, and then unfortunate thing about that is you can't project back by not putting stuff up on the walls, you know, for your students to see. So those are things that are really hold back the language. I think it doesn't create that opportunity for you know, a good learning experience for students. You know, just like the signs, you know, when we're out and about, if you see a sign in the language, you're like, wow, no, I know what that is. I can read it. And I think it's important for all schools that have languages to have their own classroom, so that, you know, students can see the value of what the teacher and elders are sharing on their classroom walls. I'm just going to share some humor here. There's a fellow there I know is he's a comedian, so hopefully it's funny. I'll try to retell it how he told it. He said he was at the airport and he was traveling with his buddy, and his buddy was looking around. He says, "So how come everything's always in English and French?" He says, "They need some, you know, they need some have some native language at least, you know." And so the guy was Mox and Joe. So Mox and Joe tells his friend that was saying that. He says, "They do." He says, "Where?" He says, "Right there." He says, "They got English, French, and arrows for the Indians." Oh my God. When he was telling me that, I was like, oh my goodness, I just had to shake my head. It's just so funny. But yeah, like, it's really important to you know, see our language presence in the towns, in the cities, even on highways. I know up in our area there, they put all the signs a couple of years ago. They put everything in English and French. Previously, it was just English, and then they start putting all the signs bilingual. And I was thinking, holy man, it goes right through our territory. Where's our language? Where's our where's our words on those signs? So stuff like that, just it does have an effect on you when you see stuff like that, because it's sort of in injustice towards insult towards the the First Peoples, the Anishinaabe. And then when I asked one person at work for the road department signs, or he says, "Oh, you have to do this, you have to do that. It costs lots of money." I said, "Well, they must have had money to change everything bilingual." I said, "Could have did our words on there at the same time." Something we'll have to explore someday.
Yeah, I think I'm gonna take Ira's idea and start posting signs around here, because you know what? I think that's what we need to do. And it's you know what, we can't just sit back and think, okay, well, we, hopefully somebody will do it. So you know what, I'm gonna hopefully try to do it, and hopefully it'll work. So let's hope for the best there.
Yeah, that's what Iris said. You got to have the will to do it. It can be done. There you go.
Yeah, exactly.
Greetings. Am I back in the main room? I am. Yeah, okay, that's good. There's Emma. I see Emma.
Bonjour, we're back.
All right. So we're live and everybody's going to be joining us right now. I guess so. Good. All right. Well, David, you certainly thank you for providing the topics for our discussion. And boy, oh boy, people had a lot to say, and we're looking forward to sharing some of their thoughts. Of course, they're language educators in the community, so they're at ground zero when it comes to dealing with the youth. And one of the fun aspects of it was we actually were live in a classroom with the youth in the background. Sounded like maybe kindergarten, grade 1. They were awful noisy, but I said, good, because the youth are here. What else are we doing this for? So it was, pardon me, it was loud, but it was nice to hear them chatting in the background. So I'm going to toss it over to Emma and see what some of her delegates had to think and on some of the questions and then that David posed. And maybe you could go over some of those questions and themes that David suggested we discuss.
Sure. So my understanding was we were talking about the role of language in education, using education for everybody, and different groups that that can promote language learning. Parents, which can be traditional mother, father, mama, and papa, or it could be, those who raised you, the caregivers, whether it be the Gokum and the Shomas, the grandparents, or whether it's somebody else. Family, which could be extended family, school, community, leadership, government, and other. So that was my understanding of our topic of discussion. So we started off with an amazing story that one of our members experienced. Her mother is a language speaker, but was forced to attend Pelican Residential School when it was a residential school at the time. And the consequence of that was, while the mother herself was still a language speaker, she didn't pass that learning on to her children. So as a parent now, she wants to learn the language as much as possible and to pass that on. So to pick up the stick and continue on passing it on. She will be attending classes in the community. And that was another item that was raised in different times during our conversation, was it can't just be the kids learning. it's the whole family that needs to learn. And that means we need to have resources. So for the schools to share those resources with parents and families at home that they can pick up and continue learning themselves and teach their kids. As well as there being courses available, lifelong learning courses for adults and parents to learn the language as well. So evening classes, as well as nest programs, and having some of the items that were raised yesterday also to be included. It was also raised that regarding government, a lot of our documents and legal requirements are all English paperwork, which can be overwhelming and difficult if you're not a language speaker, and can also inhibit language use. So it was encouraged, it was suggested that some of those glitches in bureaucracy are dealt with so that it is more culturally sensitive and friendly, language friendly. So Colleen, who has her hand up, was the one who shared a lot of that experience as a Cree translator in the court system, and also as a home educator, as teaching her kids the language as well. So one thing she mentioned was we want to keep the languages distinct. So we want to have Cree be Cree and not Cree with Mohawk mixed in. Or if we teach Ojibwe, we want it to stay Anishinaabe and not mix in Anishinaabe and confuse things. So keeping it distinct so that the languages stay as connected to their roots and origins as possible. We spoke about, with regards to community, another thing that can be done to infuse language into the community is just have language in different areas of the community. If you're going to say thank you, why say thank you? Say miigwech, right? If you're going to say hi, say bonjour, anin, wajie, all the different greetings depending on where you are. And for leadership to continue to advocate for education, for language learning, to continue advocating for immersion, to continue advocating for programs, which being the decade of Indigenous languages is the perfect time to really dive into those types of advocations. Also, don't wait for somebody else to get it going. Start learning as soon as you can. If you have the desire, pick up a word or two and listen. Listen to recordings and look for different resources. And hopefully these types of activities and events will help share what resources are available. And Bruce, one of our educators, came up with a great perspective, great point, that the Ojibwe and Anishinaabe language is complicated, as Dave showed how the words grow longer and longer and longer as the sentence that we're creating becomes more and more detailed and specific. And as a result, his suggestion was, for younger grades, don't focus on written language. Imagine writing that great big long word. Instead, focus on oral for the younger grades. And then as they become more proficient with the writing skills, and they can learn and focus on learning, putting what they hear and what they say down into a written form, then you can focus on that later on. And I think that also ties in a little bit with what Cass was saying yesterday about, the adults have to know the why, whereas the younger guys, they sponge it up and say what they need to say. They learn little sponges. So I think that covers everything we mentioned. Yeah,
Okay,
miigwech.
miigwech for that. All right, a couple of points from my group. Not enough time in the classroom to teach language. I guess 30 minutes per lesson isn't enough time, or 45 minutes for the older students isn't enough time. Also, high school, they're getting 70 minutes per lesson. And they also suggest that learning language must start at home. So that was a point that came up. Also, someone suggested that we get away from the Ontario curriculum to learn language and basically use the 6 seasons and more traditional languages from the elders and from your community. So try to get away from the Ontario curriculum of trying to teach the language. Linguists came around about 40 years ago to one of our delegates, and his mother wouldn't participate because she said that the linguists were trying to change how the words sound. And she would not work with the linguists, afraid that they would change the sound of our words. So that was very powerful. Also, again, try to connect with the community, have the community work with the students and with the school. And there's something out there called the Legacy School Project. In other words, it's available. And Harriet suggested that, but you can go back in our session and listen to that if you like, and we'll try to get more information. But it's called a Legacy School Project based on language and pardon me, culture and craft time. The kids love the crafts. They love to make things, and when they do that, they're speaking language. And she showed a couple elder, what'd she call them? Elder. Anyway, they're elders that she had made, or the kids had made, and that they helped to promote the language as well. So I learned a lot, and I'm sure that the teachers that joined us learned a lot as well. Okay, David, I know I'm taking up time. What say you, my good man?
Right. So in our group, we kind of covered all 3 discussions there because of the information that was coming out. All overlaps and it's interconnected. So we had one of our participants who was a non-speaker teacher working in a NAN community. She wanted to say that, which is really important, and that it reinforces identity for not just students, for people. It's better for everyone, and she's hoping to look for future opportunities as a new learner to build up her skills, vocabulary, and she feels it's important, that when they do the morning exercises, that there's prayers done in the language. So that was some of her shared points. Also discussed the how our language been sort of beaten down. It's sort of regarded as something that's not important, and it is. And so we want to raise that awareness and level of the language being important, because French and English are, in the Constitution regarded as the official languages. So the question was, why can't our language, be an official language? And so we'll move in that direction in the coming decade. Another participant shared a family member story where they learned not by reading and writing. It was just listening to stories of from his mother, and recorded him, and so there's a lot of recorded stuff on tapes of Cree language, stories about hunting. And since all this information is on tape, it's really important now to listen to these tapes because it imparts a lot of Cree culture, customs, and teachings. And then the experience of this teacher had a classroom and then got booted out of their classroom because it had to make way for another subject. So that's kind of a sad story, when demonstrates when students see that there's no language classroom. It sort of puts that mindset. I guess it's not important. That everybody else gets a classroom except native language. So that's something that has to change. You can't evict people out of the classrooms, especially when it comes to our language, and it's so delicate of the perception. And as a teacher, she loves teaching, a strong passion of teaching, and language has to be not only spoken, it has to be sung, because that's where our language and culture emanates from. It's from song and dance. Another one of our other group members emphasized that signs in the language are really important in the community and other places. Be Ojibwe signs in the language. This way people will learn. She had shared the story that she had learned a little French in high school. She went to Quebec. That helped. She could recognize some of the signs and get around following what she understood, what she had learned. Another participant shared the experience of having that opportunity of working as a teacher with elders, but I guess her position was kind of either phased out or pushed aside. But the elders have to continue on in the classroom, and she raised a concern about it's important to have whatever community or area you're in is to teach that community language dialect. And she thought it's important to have language nests. Again, having elders. And then back to signs. Somebody had said there's signs in Ojibwe on some reserves. One was near Fort Francis, Gigimusiminakani. It's probably like the longest sign in Ontario for a community sign, or maybe all of Canada. But I was talking to my friend that lives there. He's a teacher as well, language teacher. He says, for the longest time, he says, we're having an issue with people stealing our sign because unique signs, so people would haul it off and collector's item, I guess. And one of our other participants, said, wherever we are, whether we're in the communities or in other areas, if we want the language to come back to life wherever we are, we have to have that will to do it, and that's what will happen. Another participant said what she envisioned for an ideal classroom is to have not just a teacher, have maybe more than one teacher, maybe a male and a female. So when you help each other, and then they can communicate, and they can see this, communication is going between two people, and they hear it and see it. This way the kids learn, how a female speaks the language, how a male speaks the language, and they hear that. And it's familiar because, you come from home, mom and dad, you hear them talking all the time. So that makes sense, they understand. So conversational language, that's really important. And one other participant said they'd like to see kind of a regular, maybe in each community or each area, to have a language development committee, where kind of like a central area where people can share resources, because have teachers coming and going out of classrooms and schools. You always get something started, and then somebody steps in, and then like, okay, where's the resources? And most of the times teachers are they have to recreate all the materials again. And she referred to that as reinventing the wheel. And that's unfortunate. And one other participant said they had sign in their community as well, but it's only written in one form, the Roman orthography, whereas most of the community members are literate in syllabics rather than the other form. So again, focus on the importance of getting that information on signs and how people can read it. And yeah, that was that sort of summed up our group discussion on those topics.
You get a lot of information out of people in a short period of time. Good for you.
Indeed.
That's very good. All right, David Thompson, thank you so much for that fascinating presentation, of course, and some terrific discussion from our delegates. Elder magnets, that's what I was trying to say earlier. They're called elder magnets, and that kind of signifies it's craft time for the students to do arts and crafts and talk in their language. So thank you for that. And coming up, we have got, I think we have another word that we can put up. And also, don't forget that during your lunchtime, there's going to be a comedy show coming up in about 12 minutes time, featuring Jerry the Big Bear Barrett and my adventures as a 60s scoop kid. That's coming up as well. So also this afternoon, we've got Larry Beardy coming back with storytelling. I'll take this whole thing off the rails with my presentation, and then Larry will redirect it and bring it back on. And also we've got games for the children in language immersion. So that's going to be important because that's it sounds like a lot of fun, really. So we'll discuss that and get some great ideas as well. So I think we have another word coming up. There may be a word, and of course the word is the wordplay. Just checking my notes here. Hang on. You're not supposed to see me checking my notes. Play to win code word. Do we have one of those this time? Because I missed it last time. No?
Not for the breakout rooms, no.
No? Okay, that's good. All right. So we're going to take a quick break, get some nourishment into you. And oh, I wanted to mention one last thing. Passion. All these people, all these delegates have passion for the language. I think that's awesome. So, okay, have a great lunch break, and I'll see you in about 10 minutes with the Big Bear Comedy Show.